Buenos dias. Oh, somebody asked for that, so I had to do it once again. RGT85 here. We got a bit of an interesting story today, folks. Something that happened earlier in the week. I never got around to talking about it because I was just a busy boy this week, but now I have some time since it's the weekend, and it's something that I find pretty interesting. We're talking about the disappearance of many first-party Nintendo Switch games at major retailers. Now, you wouldn't think that this would be a story considering the fact that the Switch is still selling very well. All of the software seems to be selling better than maybe even it should at certain times. But it seems like a lot of these physical versions of the game are now going out of stock and, more importantly, out of print. So we're going to go over the games that were discovered to be going out of print, or allegedly going out of print, I should say, and talk about essentially what this means, because some people think it means one thing and I happen to think it means another thing. So if this is your first time on the channel, hit that subscribe button. But without any further ado, let's just check out this list. So this list is coming to us from Reset Era in conjunction with Nintendo. I don't think Reset Era likes me, but if they do, hi Reset Era. If not, well, I tried. Nintendo discovered that Paper Mario the Origami King in North America, the physical release seemed to be out of print. So the only way to get a new copy of this game physically was through eBay at the time of this, for $49.99. Now, Paper Mario the Origami King, like they say in their description here in their tweet, you know, maybe they just don't want to like Paper Mario games at the same time. The Thousand Year Door remake is coming out sometime this year, probably around summertime. So it would make sense that you wouldn't want to cause too much confusion with people. And, you know, that does seem like something Nintendo would potentially do. You could still buy all these games digitally, of course, but it does seem like something Nintendo would do. But through some more sleuthing, we found out that there's a whole myriad of games that are seemingly unavailable, and some of these games are kind of newer titles. So I wanted to highlight this. A shadow link was able to uncover on Discord from Amazon, which the US Nintendo site uses, in order to one I personally uncovered. So this thread is being done by Neexon, so shoutouts to Neexon and shoutouts to a shadow link. But here's a list of games that are seemingly out of print now for the Nintendo Switch. Donkey Kong Country's Tropical Freeze, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, Metroid Dread, Kirby Star Allies, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Fire Emblem Engage, Yoshi's Crafted World, WarioWare Get It Together, Nintendo Switch Sports, Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, Super Mario Maker 2, and Mario Strikers Battle League. So, like, looking at this list of games right here, I find some of these more interesting than other games. You know, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, okay, that was probably going to be a limited run to begin with. Kirby Star Allies, same sort of thing. But stuff like Fire Emblem Engage and Mario Strikers Battle League, like, these are newer-ish games that came out on the Switch. Fire Emblem Engage and Mario Strikers Battle League seemed to sell decently enough when they first came out. So I'm surprised that they're kind of capping those at the knees when it comes to selling more physical copies of this game, at least in the United States. The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, like, that's a Zelda game. You know, Breath of the Wild is still in print. You could still go get Breath of the Wild, which was the first Nintendo Switch game to ever release, at your local retailer with new and potentially used copies if it's like a GameStop. But you can pretty much go into any local retailer and find something like Breath of the Wild. But you know, Link's Awakening not being there, Metroid Dread not being there, I would think you would want to sell as many copies of Metroid Dread as you possibly could, considering you just barely eked out 3 million copies in over a, you know, year and a half, 2 years almost to get to that sort of metric. Yeah, I'm taking shots. I'll always take shots because I won that bet. But Super Mario Odyssey, like, what are we doing here? Super Mario Odyssey and Nintendo Switch Sports are sort of two, you know, different ends of a spectrum for me. But these are two games that I would want to have on the shelf all the time. Super Mario Odyssey is one of the best-selling games on the Switch. If you are getting a Nintendo Switch for the first time, that's one of the games I'm recommending. Nintendo Switch Sports, it has that casual appeal to it, pick up and play sort of mentality with it. So, you know, you look at this list of games and there are some heavy hitter titles on here, some newer titles on here. And then you get to the question of why. Why are these games in particular first party titles seemingly out of print? Now, of course, you can always buy these games digitally. We are moving towards that all digital age, folks. I don't think it's going to come within the next 5 years or something, but probably within 10, 15 years when I'm probably dead or something. These will all be, you know, everything will be digital only. There probably won't be any sort of physical medium because there's not going to be a physical media slot on these upcoming systems. But we're not quite at that age yet, and some people prefer to buy physical versions of these games. If Nintendo's not selling or creating physical versions of these first-party games, then that means they're not making any money on it. You know, if you're having to buy a second-hand copy or something like that, Nintendo's not getting any of that revenue, so you kind of know what I'm alluding to with that. But the one thing that people seem to think is happening with this is the Nintendo Selects, or the Nintendo's player choice. They think that this is coming back, and this is a sign of it because these games are going to potentially be involved in the Nintendo Selects portion. Now, on one hand, that is something Nintendo tends to do. We did see lots of things like that during, you know, the Wii era, the GameCube era, the Super Nintendo era, where we got re-releases of these games. N64 era had it as well. We got re-releases of games that usually sold over 1 million plus copies that were then re-released at usually they changed up a little bit of the cover art, maybe put some new emblem on it or something like that. Of course, the GameCube games had that gaudy yellow strip at the top of it to show a celebration of the games being successful and to re-release these games at a cheaper price point. That is something Nintendo could potentially do, but I just feel like that's not what they're doing, because there hasn't really been any sort of indication that they plan on doing something like that. I feel like this is something that somebody somewhere would have heard about. You know what I'm saying? We get all these leaks about all this sort of stuff. Some are more true than others. Some come from better sources than others. But like, it just seems like Nintendo is just like, okay, well, these games, they've done their life. You know, that we've gotten everything we can get out of them. If they want to buy these games digitally, they still can. They're still available on the Nintendo Switch eShop. You just can't buy the game physically anymore. And that's sort of moving to that all digital age. It's coming, folks. I know it's something that everyone's dreading happening, Metroid dreading happening, no pun intended, but it is an inevitability at this point in time. And you gotta remember, it costs money to manufacture these games. Now, some of these games, like I said, I feel like they would sell well. You know, a Super Mario Odyssey, like that should be one of your top selling games, but a more niche game like Pikmin 3 Deluxe or WarioWare Get It Together, it makes sense to only give those sort of a limited life cycle in the physical market and then just stop making copies of it. If it's not flying off the shelves, there's no reason to produce those physical copies that cost you money to make when you get a better return on your investment of developing these games and everything when somebody purchases the games digitally. There's more money to be made for these companies in digital format than there is in physical format. And I know a lot of you guys think that Nintendo's your friend, but they're not. They're not. They don't care about you. They care about making money. They are a business. That is the backbone of all businesses, except for RGT85, where I am indeed your friend. But this was an interesting story, I thought, you know, just because when you compare the age of some of these games to other games that are still being printed, and, you know, Breath of the Wild, you know, it's like, okay, well, you don't want 2 Paper Marios, but you allow 2 mainline Zeldas. You'll have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom out there at the same time. It's like the justification just doesn't fly with me. I just think for whatever reason, maybe based on internal data or just, you know, sales figures of these games, that they decided, hey, we're not releasing these anymore. We're not manufacturing these anymore. You had a chance to pick it up physically. If you bought your Switch at a later date, either buy a used physical copy or purchase it digitally on the Nintendo Switch eShop. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. Do you guys think that Nintendo Selects or Player's Choice games could be potentially coming to the Nintendo Switch, and that's why these games are no longer in development? Or do you think it's more likely just a standard business decision? I mean, it just doesn't seem like greatest hits stuff anymore is like really a thing that happens with these companies, because they realize that, hey, we could just like resell this game and, you know, say it's an enhanced version, director's cut or something like that, and still make bukus of bucks on it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, like I said, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 500,000 subscribers, and I'd like to hit it sometime. Giggity. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.